Welcome back to War Thunder and welcome to Kursk, my favorite map in the game that I, for some bizarre reason, don't get often. And people are wondering when I tell them that I really love Kursk. And the explanation is simple. This is the best tank map in the game, the most realistic one. But it's far from being really realistic. What I understand under a really great battle and also to a scenario where combined arms would really work, in my opinion, would be more players on both sides with initially 2 respawns guaranteed. This would be a really nice fix for tank RB, so that the matches would contain more players, more kills, and more RP, more civil lines therefore, and so we would come closer to the reward and income that we would have by playing a plane in air RB. Nobody really complains about income in air RB, and for a good reason. It's always okay, could be better, but it's a free-to-play title after all, so a premium account obviously helps a great deal, and yeah, also the right boosters, yada yada yada, premium vehicles, whatever. And here you can see me going parallel directly to the river and now turning in towards A. The Panther is the better heavy tank compared to the Tiger. I always claimed that in my tank reviews of the Panther A and numerous others. The Panther 2 in terms of heavy tankness is not as good as the Tiger 2 obviously. But as we will see in this scenario, I can withstand a lot of damage, a lot of shots, and again I get shot. The hit marker indicates to the left, but I have to go and intercept the cap of A. My team tries to keep up, but they haven't figured it out. Kursk is not as straightforward to play as you might think, and that has a particular reason. People bail out when they see the name Kursk, and I don't know why, because again, Kursk offers good possibility for every side to have an amazing game. Now obviously I could rant here about the lineups as I did in a version of this commentary that I already did, and I figured out that it was not the best commentary. I tried to use lineups, but it always is not very nice, let's put it that way. Whenever I go out in a tank and I'm around the objective and I get destroyed, then that's the battle for me, and usually I, leave the battle. You might say, despite having spawn points of course, you might say, why do you do that? You are a letdown for your team. You are so bad, it costs you, victories where you could be the decisive difference. And that is correct. But usually, and I don't know if that is just a matter of the game, or it's just the time when I get destroyed, or, where I get destroyed at which point. It usually is the way that when I get destroyed and I respawn, there's always somebody spawn camping. Or when I go into a plane, don't do it with German planes. German planes are simply obsolete. I've rented enough in the past. I made valuable arguments. They still count. The Germans have a big lack of ordnance for their fighters, strike fighters. They got massively nerfed. The 30mm cannons on the F8, the plane is basically unflyable. Then the other planes also are very difficult to fly. The Henschel 129, B2 and B3 are not that great in ground striking operations, despite the 30mm or the optional bomb load or the 75mm. They are one-hit wonders basically, and you can't defend yourself at all against well-aimed AAA because you're too slow, or you also have to deal with fighters, and against them, well, it's a bit of a different story when it comes to ground battles versus pure air RP battles. Having said that, We have some nice premium planes that work really well in RRB in terms of cleaning up the AI units. That is correct. One of them I featured and I thought to myself, well, this plane is truly awesome. The fact was, it got nerfed. Two of the MK103s got replaced by MK108s. So basically you have now a prop ME262 weapon-wise. You no longer cannot use it for ground striking. I think that this is really, really, really... it's a big shame, to be honest. And finally I saw the guy that was relentlessly shooting me, and finally he kills me. Now this M56 also shows another problem for German tank. So with the airplanes out of the question for being really useful and competitive against enemy planes such as even P-51s, P-47s, 82 Sky Raiders on the American side, all the Griffin Spitfires or the special rocket carrying Typhoons or big cannon Mosquitoes for the British side. You also have really famous and good ground strikers for the Russians, which the people playing Russians heavily deny. They just say, oh, so bad for ground striking. And I see numerous times going entire German teams go up in flames by Su-6, their rockets, or IL-10 variants, IL-2s. For some bizarre reason, I never see Peshkas. I tried out the Peshka in Combined Arms and they worked. I have no idea why nobody is using the Peshkas. Then there's also the huge variety of reward / premium vehicles, P-47D, the P-63C and A-10, all of them carry rockets. Bombs for a one-strike capability. Yes, the Germans have the medium bombers, such as the Do-217, E2, E4, K1 and M1. And, you know, they are also very good in dropping 3 times very big ordnance. But the aiming reticle was taken away, and so they are, you know, no longer as useful as P8 with the 5,000 kilogram bomb for cleaning up capture zones or capture circles, year 2s, of which we have, if you're an older player, 6 variants, IL-4s, and yeah, then of course for higher BRs, the Tu-2s. Fantastic aircraft. Yes, when it comes to the jet age above 6.7, that's a different story. So here I used the A8, I guess, with the PB2. You have 14 of those rockets. Are they good? Well, sadly they are not one-hit kill wonders like a lot of the other rockets. I'm sorry, it was the F8. And, you know, you see the big difference here in flight performance if you would compare it to the gun pulse, the 30mm. Maybe they would be better. Maybe they would do more damage. But the plane is... You can't pull up. Even with the 1-ton bomb, you are heavier and can't, you know, pull up as fast with the gun pulse than with the 1-ton bomb. Even with the 1-ton bomb and the 450 kilogram bombs, I'm not quite sure. So here I tried to frantically defend A, but there is not a lot of our tanks left. I tried to kill this PT-76 and then watch this. I clearly was free of that tree, yet I ripped my wing. Oh, great. And now let's have a look at the basically part of War Thunder that I heavily despise. I've put all my effort into getting A. My team did not really support me by cleaning up my flank. I mean, I was clean from the riverside, which is one of the major advantages when it comes to dealing with flanking fire. You know, the angle of attack is limited. So again, a T-34-85 was spawn camping and securing me my 7th kill. Of course, then there is always another tank that I couldn't see through the bushes, and for some bizarre reason he must have shot my turret and bounced. But also I bounced off his plate here because Russian tank destroyers. Now, when I played the ISU 152 and all its variants, even the S version with the improved reload, they were awful in arcade. In RB, you still can make them work, but it's not that easy compared to, for example, a Yak Panther. Of course, my shot goes up, I try to angle, but boom. Yeah, where is the rest of my team? Well, the German tanks are not as effective overall as you might think, and even angling, and I was angled here, you know, other nations just laugh at this and pump you full of big APHE rounds or APDS rounds, and the Germans have nothing to rush spawns like the Russians do with their what is it, with their milk trucks or, you know, AAA trucks and so on. So I'm spawning with one of the last tanks that I had available. You know, I have a big lineup, but I can't even get a full lineup to replace every loss. At some point you need to make a decision for either you get good plane lineup or tank lineup. You even can try to mix it, but at some point it's getting expensive. So I had here no chance against the IS-2. A lot of the things that get mentioned when you talk about the IS-2 is the removal of the post-war shell, but the post-war shell was never the real problem. I think the only tank that had to really fear the post-war shell was the mouse, but the mouse can even get penned by the BR-412B due to the turret front being cast homogeneous armor. And let's watch this against the Long 88. I aim for the turret front again, and beautiful, beautiful bias hit. Yeah, what can you do? Can you spawn in another aircraft? Well, every aircraft that you launch can't turn the tide compared to a lot of the other planes. I love my P-47s. I'm an absolute fanboy of the 82 Skyraider, which you could see in numerous videos, even getting aces in RRB to show people that this plane is really awesome if you know how to use it. German planes are a big mixture of turd and stupidness. They just wobble around, uncontrollable, unprecise flight models. They might be the most realistic flight models, but you know, other nations just still UFO around, like the Japanese, like to a certain small portions in the Italians, but also like the Russians and of course the British with their Spitfires that I absolutely despise, because if there is a normal pilot in them, you have a very hard time by default. And they can carry rockets that work, unlike the 14 KB2s on the Focke-Wulf F8, which is the technically most lineup or the most amount of rockets that you can carry for a German prop plane. Unlike, I mean, yes, there is the BF 109 F2, I guess, with the 8 wing-mounted rockets, but they're also not very good. And then there are the up to 84 rockets of the Me-262, but again, then you barely can fly that thing and you have a long way to research them, and it's again higher battle rating. So, why do you show the battle again? No, this is a second battle that I had in quick succession. I guess this was the third battle of the day, whereas the first one was the first one of the day. And again, I used the very same tactic, and this is now the portion that I go for C, and the rest of my team seems to focus on A and B. I'm not quite sure if the dots on the southern spawn point are actually players or not, but I guess they are. So again, people bail out once they see Kursk because they don't understand how to play that map, how to utilize their capabilities. I would love to go here with a Tiger H1 and test out the angling for over long range, how good it would be, and you know, to simply test it. However, this time it seems like there is nobody there. Oh, he just beamed into there. I tried to lead properly, but despite the high muzzle velocity of this Long 75 on the Panther, it was not good enough. I tried to snipe into there, but again it was far off, so I keep moving. And now he is in the capture zone. Again, I try to lead again. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? I'm looking, I'm looking, I'm looking. And that was one hell of a hit. One shot him through the lower plate. So that was a kill on the Avenger, and I keep moving. There is a second tank. Try to lead properly, and beautiful. That was actually a lucky hit, but thanks to the interaction rules, the, I guess, 30mm of side armor of the M4A3 couldn't withstand the caliber of 75mm. That is not a huge caliber, but you know, the armor is paper thin in comparison. So, and I am most likely unchallenged to go into the C-cap, and that's a good feeling. So when I approach the C point a bit more from the southeast than the southwest where the spawn is, you immediately can see that my armor is always more or less pointing into the direction of very likely incoming enemy fire. And I have also some houses and other buildings to hide behind. So I'm not in the open, and I'm not in the usual driving path. So a lot of the people that are used to Kursk and have figured out the distances are thrown off with their aim. And that is as well something that you have to keep in mind. So I'm driving through C, I'm capping it. Our team has capped A. B is, yeah, there is a fight going on in front of B. Our team seems to do well. Dicke Max just nuked a M4A3E2, as it should be. And I'm just chilling here, reversing a little bit. I have to say, the Panthers are beautiful tanks. They just have to look. And I look around. I always look around. Where is some contrast? Where is movement? There I've seen something. I lead. And I hit the angled frontal plate of this Shaman. I'm again between the bushes. As you can see, I'm not using low quality texture or any kind of nonsense. However, there is the option to remove grass in aiming side. And I think when you, very often, it feels like you have to fight those ultra low quality players, then this is a compromise. How big of ultra low quality is a problem or not, I cannot tell, but sometimes I get killed by very dubious shots that I would not dare to say that they are impossible, but they are very unlikely in my graphics settings from my standpoint, if you can fully believe the kill cam that is. Which is another question, how accurate it is. Maybe I should compare it then with the server replay, the normal replay, figure out the discrepancies. Here the ping is relatively high because it seems like I'm playing either on the North American or the Russian server. Normally my ping is below 50. At least in recent times on the EU server, which is nice. And so I'm actually using the not too bad mobility of the Panther going up hills. Now, I mentioned that players are not aware of the possibilities of Kursk or how to use them and which possibilities are there. If you look closely on the minimap, you see the area where I'm in D6 down to E7 and 8, there are small ridge lines which you can hide behind and make an approach unseen over the open field. Especially tanks with good turret armor and lots of gun depression, the late tier British ones for example, they can utilize that. So I try to help my team at B, and look where I am compared to the rest of my team. I'm still looking around. I am flanking the enemy team in a tank that the Russians call a heavy tank, and you know which heavy tanks the Russians had in the Second World War, right? So yeah, I'm observing the ridgeline here. Usually I have a good contrast here to spot enemy tanks early on. I look around and don't spot the tank in front of me, and Then I see a shot coming in, and I think to myself, hold on, what's that? There it is. Just behind the bush. Good hit, good hit. Slightly adjusting the aim a little bit for maybe a hull shot. And it goes in. So here, from the side, a AAA going off that is armed with Hispano cannons. So I go into the ridgeline and try get closer to B. I still look around, and then I see the vehicle on the very right house. I turn around, and that might have been the reason why the shot of the enemy tank went not exactly there where he had aimed it. I have no real idea where it is, but that vehicle is hiding behind the house. I still can't shoot through it because of the very unsensitive fuse of German shells of 28mm, and I hit his cannon barrel, and then this AAA vehicle seems that I'm distracted, and I put the killing shot into him for my ace. That is nice. So now it's time to go after this tank, and you know, this portion of the map seems open, but where is he? So a Mosquito got shot down by a Focke-Wulf, good job, and I think enemy or CAS suppression is something very important. So, and then I get shot from the left, I readjust, he has no good reverse gear, good night sunshine, Cromwell 5. Yeah, solid shots, which are not APDS, are not that great if they don't have the necessary penetration to deal with the slightly angled side armor of even the Panther, and they also don't have the damage output. This is the great strength of the Panthers. While their high explosive filling is the very same as on the Panzer IV 75, which is not the highest, they are still good enough to kill a lot of the crew or kill the tank outright with the central mass shot into the crew compartment. I always like this, and while this gun is relatively similar to the 17 pounder of the British, it trades off, I guess, a little bit rate of fire for high explosive filler. As long as the British don't get APDS, they have the worst deal in this respect. So this guy in his Panzer IV is also moving at quite some speed. If you give the Germans a good long distance, they actually can reach good speeds and are then not that sluggish. Tanks are very sluggish at lower speeds in terms of turning and moving, or you know, correcting the way they go. But when they are, let's say, half top speed, they are quite nimble and maneuverable for what they are. Don't forget that. So I'm looking at the enemy spawn. Look at C. C has been not contested for a very long time. And even if it would have been contested, I always could have turned around and contested myself again while dealing with the enemy. And most of the time, if somebody is at C, he doesn't look at B, he looks directly at our spawn zone. Because there is the ridgeline where all the German tanks usually appear. Now I go, yeah, a bit sideways, not quite sure what to do right now. There is just one enemy left, I guess. And I just keep moving, enjoy the beautiful map. I think wide open grasslands are something that I really like in my German tanks. I want to test it out with other nations' tanks, but you know, sadly you don't get Kursk that often. The Focke-Wulf did a good job in providing air cover, and now C gets contested. And while this doesn't make a difference in the outcome of the battle, I just wanted to show you how important positioning is. Now I'm coming from practically behind. He does expect tanks coming from B or from our spawn point again. So he is not even, or I guess he's not looking into this direction. I actually saw him right there, but I thought it would be a burned out tank. That was a bad place by me, gameplay, but then I saw his tracers going off. First hit hits very well indeed. I do not really even correct the aim, and I keep firing to set the engine on fire again. Those British AAAs don't have enough armor to actually really activate the fuse, and even the third hit does not really hit there where it would have killed the last crew member, but he burns out and giving me my 7th kill. And so I wanted to go in C, but even if I would have been there, I would not have had enough time. So let's have a quick look at the post-battle results. And as we can see, for 7 kills, 7 critical hits and 1 zone captured, I get 50,000 civil lines and 3,130 research points. That was a good result, a good battle, and I got Survivor, which gives me another 7,500 silver lines. I value this award very highly for me, and it's a shame that there is no statistic how to often get this. Even the Matchmaker award is not that important for me because it depends more on luck, whereas the Survivor award, you know, lets you think about very conservative gameplay and very good overall performance throughout the entirety of the match. So that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more. Let me know in the comment section what you think about German lineups in general, and if I should give it another go. And as usual, we'll see each other on the battlefields of War Thunder.